Hi guys, welcome to the nest. We've got our Finnish and Soviet war going on here. We've got some rolls going. Our Finnish troops do have first strike capability. We have the Uda Jaegers and the Sissy troops going. Nato is rolling right now for our ski troops and the RF-8s. Looks like neither one of them hit. We're going to go ahead and pull these right here. Those were from our Finnish ones that took. You guys can see there what we've got going on.
This is for all these.
Okay. We've got 2 hits on Finnish troops. One and one.
These guys hit harder.
Okay, so we've got 6 light tanks and a fighter coming up next right there. Just so you guys know, NATO is playing as Russia, and then we're rolling over here on this side for Finland.
The fighter is the house rule. That's a IL something IL-2, so it's an early war fighter. We're not unlocking the Yak 3 till, or Yak 9 till July 42 when it historically came out.
Sounds good. Okay, so we got 2 hits on that one, and that was it. On the tanks and the IL fighter. You guys can see that going on. Now we have a medium bomber. And it hit.
+2 is only for the first round, so these go back to...
Oh,
they're dead.
they're dead. They get to defend, or no?
These guys?
Mm-hmm.
No. They already shot.
No hospital. We got deads. Bye bye. We'll put those away here in a second. So it looks like we got 3 Uda Jaegers left. They do still get first strike capability. On the first round of Finland, just so you guys know how that mod works, it actually goes here from 5 all the way up to 7. They do get a +2 for fortifications. Kind of nice, but it's only first round. So keep that in mind, guys. And we're going to roll the 3 dice here in just a minute.
These 2, first strike.
So our ski fort and our RF-8 is going to get the first strike here. And they miss.
The 2 artillery.
And 2 artillery for a first strike. And we get 1 hit on that.
He's still gonna... These guys have first strike as well, so they're still gonna get the roll.
They have 3.
We
2.
don't- Yeah.
We have 2 left. 2! And we do have 1 hit from the Uda Jaegers. Yeah. 3, 7. Russia does have a hospital nearby, so our troops that have been hit from Russia are sitting off to the side until we can do the wounded roll. So they got 1 hit, that was all they needed. And Russia takes Viper Eye, so you guys can see where we're at here. We're right here in this area. We came up from our block here in Leningrad up to Viper Eye. We'll be back here in just a little bit with the first round of January of 1940. This is Viper coming to you from a live stream. Thanks guys, we'll be right back. Hi guys, welcome back to the nest. Viper here along with Destroyer of Worlds. We had an incident with the last round, so we're going to get to that in the second half of January of 1940. This is Princess. She likes to attack Russia and Anzac on a regular basis, so she's not really biased. Sometimes she attacks other things like Italy, which is what happened the last round. We will, like I said, get to that on our next round. She's trying to go after Russia now, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Just so you guys know, I did find that Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, so you can see that we have signed it. Right before this episode, I did go ahead and do a live streaming of the rolls for the Finland-Russia war that we had going on. But we're going to go ahead and get started with Germany and what they're going to take care of today. So with Germany, they started off, they had 37 IPPs. The 5th SS Infantry is going to be coming out this round. Remember, that's at the end of the round during placement. They took 5 to repair that factory that England bombed last turn in West Germany. 1 to upgrade the 1st SS to motorized. 3 medium tanks, thank you, Princess, and 3 mechanized infantry. That was awesome. We had a tech roll on our heavy armor. We rolled a 4, bringing it down to 14 left. So the different war battles that we had, let's go to the board here. We went to the Danish Straits. We had the Baltic Sea here on the Baltic line. We also had our convoys over here. We hit Denmark and we hit Norway today. So that's what we're going to go ahead and take care of now. Now our convoy in the North Atlantic here was actually a failure, but not by much, and only missed by 1 point. The German submarines rolled for 6, including their modifications. But now that the convoy has an escort duty and a plane, those are all modifications right there. So we had 1 for each ship and 2 for the plane. So that was a total of 4 to add to their roll. So it was a 7 versus a 6. England won that raid, and then we went to the Mid-Atlantic, and kind of the same thing happened also because Germany rolled out a 9 with their modifications and England rolled a 10. So no loss for England on that one. That's great. Up to the Baltic Sea, we had, let's see, go back to my list here. In the Baltic Sea, we had a fighter from Stettin that scrambled. The Norwegians had a torpedo boat destroyer, and for us, we had a regular destroyer, a torpedo boat destroyer. Nope, that's Danish. That's Danish, sorry. So Baltic Lane, we had our battleship and our cruiser against the Danish torpedo boat and destroyer. So that happened there. I got them backwards here. That's okay. So now the Denmark ship is now gone. The battleship and cruiser did take care of that. In the Danish Straits, they had a torpedo boat destroyer, so that went up against our 2 transports that had the Marines on them and some artillery, along with our torpedo boat destroyer, regular destroyer, and coastal sub. There was a coastal gun in Norway at one time. They had 3 D12s that they had to roll a 3 or less to be able to hit one of our ships. All of them missed. So now we have our amphibious landing that came with that. There was a militia in Norway, but that was it. And then 2 Marines, 2 artillery, and the airborne came along with that. Remember that on an amphibious landing, infantry has to land first before they can land any artillery, heavy armor, or anything else. However, that was not the case. Germany landed it, took Norway, and then they just dropped everything else off there. In Denmark, we had a militia sitting there, and then 2 infantry and a fighter came in up from West Germany to take care of that. So that was taken care of, so that's another +1 for taking Denmark. Our non-combat move, Stettin, our block in Stettin, is now sitting in West Germany. Medium bombers that were up here returned to West Germany. Fighter and airborne transport returned here to actual Stettin. 3 wounded returned to Stettin also. We have our rail lines to West Germany from down here. And our mountaineers in Austria are now in Munich. And 3 infantry from West Poland went to East Prussia. Our 2nd SS and 3rd SS are now sitting in West Germany. And for our placement, Berlin is where our 5th SS went. Here? Nope. Where's the 5th SS? Awesome. Oh, here we are, right there. So there's our 5th SS for our placement for that one. Our 1st SS militia is motorized and now in Munich. 3 medium tanks went to West Germany, 2 mechanized into West Germany, and 1 mechanized into Munich. So the block that was originally here in Stettin, okay, is now here. And so all of this, das große Scheiße, is now sitting in here. For those of you who know the language, good for you. For the rest of you on YouTube, that's just being family friendly. So we're going to keep that in mind too. Russia and CCP China. Russia with the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact also gets that free tech roll, so they rolled on their heavy armor. Lucky them, they rolled a 12. They are ahead of Germany in the heavy armor roll. They have 5 left to gain that technology. They also purchased 2 medium tanks, 2 mechanized, and an artillery. Their production roll was a +4 for them. And we had our battle here in Viipuri. If you got to see the beginning of the episode, you got to see some of the rolls for that. That included 2 Jägers regiments and 2 light infantry sissies. They also had a fortification, which is a +2 for the first round only. This is in the rules for the modification. That means they get 2 shots at 5 for city strikes, so the city actually struck at Russia too. Leningrad brought in 2 artillery, a mechanized, a tactical, a cavalry, a ski troop, a fighter, 6 infantry, 6 light tanks, and 1 RF-8 Aresny. So keep that in mind, because the UD Jaegers, if they roll a 1, they get a target selection on anything that is heavy armor. So that means they can fight at armor, they can fight at tanks, they can fight at artillery, stuff like that. So that's something to keep in mind. Fortunately for us, Russia did not have that problem. They ended up with 3 wounded. So their ski troop and their 2 infantry went back to Leningrad. And they had 2 dead, and then they have a +1 for taking Viipuri. CCP wounded infantry to return to Communist China. And the Communist China purchased an infantry to Taiwan. Or they purchased an infantry that went to Communist China. The one that was in Communist China was sitting in Taiwan. We'll get to that here in a minute also. Our placement, Russia's fighter returned to Smolensk, and their tactical went to Moscow. On our placement, our artillery that we bought went to Kiev, and we had 1 mechanized go to Smolensk. And we had a mechanized and a medium tank go to Orel-Kursk, and 1 medium tank went to Stalingrad. To the other side of the board with Japan and Manchuria, Japan had 21 IPPs, Manchuria had 7. Japan's purchases was a motorized to mechanized that they didn't do last round, and I probably should have done that, but I wasn't thinking. I paid 6 on my Yamato to move it up 1 stage, and I paid on my carrier here also, and 2 infantry and 1 artillery, which will obviously go to Tokyo. In Manchuria, we purchased a Kwangtung and an armored car. The Kwangtung was placed in Peking, and the armored car went to Jehol. And all of our wounded returned to their normal states. Now, we had our nice little battle. Manchuria went back after Taiwan again. And remember last turn, Manchuria ended up retreating because it didn't quite work out into their favor for that. So, but this time it was a little bit better. Now, granted, Taiwan did actually get some hits, but so did Manchuria. Taiwan brought 2 CCP infantries and 2 CCP mountaineers and 2 KMT infantries. Peking brought in 2 armored cars, cavalry, mechanized, 2 Kwangtungs, an Imperial Guard, and 2 fighters and 2 tacticals from our block here in Henan. Peking took Taiwan with 1 wounded and 1 dead, and the fighters returned to Henan. KMT actually got their 2, they're wounded also, and CCP went 2 and 2 on their wounded, so they took their mountaineers for theirs. On our non-combat, everything that was in J-Hole moved to Peking, because once we moved everything from Peking into Taiwan, it was empty and open for the taking. And West Manchuria armored car went to Peking that was already there. And Japan, something to keep an eye on, guys. Allies players, this is for you. We had a coastal sub sitting here off the coast of Siam. It is now sitting on the convoy line, and this is C-Zone 86 just at the tip of India. So Britain, Pac Brits, guys, this is for you. So keep an eye on that, because we have our numbers here of what you guys can lose on that convoy. So once Pac Brits and Japan go to war, that is something that is probably going to happen, just like it does in the Atlantic. All right, folks, we'll be right back. We're coming back with Euro Brits, Pac Brits, and Anzac. Right around on the January 1940, the second half of this turn is coming up. Don't forget that we're going to have our medium bombers looking around over here in England. We might be sitting and looking at purchasing some of those too. Maybe throwing something at West Germany. We're not sure yet. We'll get there, but we'll see here. We will see you guys back here in just a few minutes. Thanks. Hi guys, welcome back to the second half of January of 1940. It's time for the Pac Brits and the Euro Brits and the Anzac to start going forward. Let's go ahead and get to our board. So on our Pac Brits, we're going to go ahead and get down here. We bought a fighter and an artillery that we're going to lease to China. There was no movement. Our fighter went into Calcutta, and of course the artillery went to Yunnan, because just so you guys know, the only way that Pac Brits can lend lease is through the Burma Road, so Yunnan is where it goes. On Anzac, no combat. We purchased a destroyer. It went into auto placement on our production board. Then it got placed out here on the coast of Sydney. They had enough. They had 9 IPPs, so they purchased themselves that destroyer. They have a transport that is on its way back to Sydney. For our Euro Brits, we had 29 IPPs. We paid for a tech roll for advanced submarine warfare. They rolled an 11. That left 10. That's bad news for us German players, because that means they're coming up on that chance of knocking out that convoy line. We don't like that, so as soon as we get the chance, we're going to start running those tech rolls to get our submarines back up to par. It's going to be interesting going back and forth with this technology advancement, and a lot of production and value going towards that. In addition, they also purchased a fighter, a light tank, and a strategic bomber. Now, if you remember in the last half, we were talking about maybe buying one. We weren't sure yet. So NATO, who is playing our Allies players, did decide to go ahead and buy one. The fighter and the strategic bomber got placed in London, and the light tank went to South Africa. Just as before, all of our South African units are moving up northward. They're going to continue moving northern here, so that's going to happen there. Now, our battles for Euro Brits. The British fleet went up against the German fleet up here in the northern Baltic Sea. As you can see, there's no more black ships. I'm kind of sad right now because of that. The British fleet brought in a battleship, 2 cruisers, and a destroyer against the 2 transports, the coastal sub, the torpedo destroyer, and the destroyer that the Germans had. As you can see right here, I don't know if we can get into this really close. It's kind of hard to see. Those are our damage points. You can order those from historicalboardgaming.com. We did order some new stuff that I will show you here in just a minute. That is 1 damage on that battleship that the Germans did hit on there, but as you can see, there's no ships there. The British took that fleet from them. Our combat air patrol, the only place we could do it was here in the mid-Atlantic. They did roll. They hit 1, so we're now missing a submarine here. Axis players, keep this in mind. Still not close enough to hit that Wolfgang pack that's sitting in the mid-Atlantic gap. So that's something else to think about too. As we move along, I have some tabs here for our Italy oopsies from Princess, Destroyer of Worlds, who happens to be down here waiting to see what else she could destroy. If I start singing, she'll come up closer. Alright, so France France, you had 20 IPPs. Good job. It's probably the only time that you guys are actually going to be able to buy stuff, so keep that in mind too. So we paid 1 debt on the cruiser and then 4 to move it up to the next stage. Good job for you guys. We also purchased a medium tank, a mechanized infantry, a regular infantry, and the militia. All went into lovely Paris. Thank you, Destroyer of Worlds. We'll take that into account also. Apparently she doesn't like Paris. So our fleet in the England, our fleet is over here that was next to England is now sitting here. So this block is reinforcing that British fleet in case the Germans decide they're going to get froggy and come through the Danish Strait. And then we have our battleship that was in Bordeaux is now down here at Morocco. The fighter that was in Paris is now sitting here in London. Italy. Okay. So Italy, what we had to do, we actually had to redo Italy's turn from last round. And we really apologize for that. I know she doesn't, but I do, and I know Nato does. And so just sorry ahead of time. What happened is there's actually a naval port that's under construction. As you can see, I'm not moving, but apparently I am under attack because I'm an Axis player and she hates the Commonwealth, but that's the way it works. So, our naval port that's under construction is actually sitting here in Tripoli. A little thing that's on the rules, if you guys have a port or a base or an airfield or anything, place it wherever you're going to have it under construction, because while it's under construction, if it's being bombed, it can be destroyed in the process of the construction just as much as ships can. So up here into our production board, a naval base actually starts here in stage 3. And that's where we had it at. So that's one of those things that we want to keep. Our mechanized that we still had upgraded to motorized, and we do have these new pieces that we just got from Historical Board Gaming. Those are black shirts, so new acrylics for that, and that was here in Anzio. For this turn, on the other hand, that was July of 1939, so now we're in January of 1940. Our naval port, we moved up to the next stage, costing us 3 IPPs. Now, if you remember the last round, we had paid off on the cruiser, and we had paid on the battleship to move forward. We actually took that back, so we had to pay that 1 on the cruiser again to pay it off. And then we purchased an infantry that went to Turin, which today's world, that's Rome. Our current Turin infantry that was there is now over here in Albania. Ladies and gentlemen, for the Axis players, this is a possible victory point. Any country that Italy or Axis powers does not already own, this is something that it can happen. It has to take 2 of them. Doesn't matter which one it is, ones they are, but Italy has to have 2 under its belt in order to gain that victory point for the Axis players. So it has been annexed by Italy with no obtrusions to get in the way. And that was the end of the round for Italy. Again, we apologize for that. Destroyer of Worlds has taken off to another room right now, so hopefully we can get through America and KMT without too many issues. So, alright, America, 25 IPPs. They paid for a tech roll on heavy bombers. They rolled a 4. We're going back and forth on who's rolling the tech roll, because sometimes I roll the 12s and sometimes I don't, and vice versa with Nato. Lately, I've been the one who's been rolling 12s. NATO's been rolling the low rolls, so that's kind of what's been happening. But something else that comes out. Fighting Tigers. This is one of those things. Last round, the last video that we played, we explained how American can start lend-leasing to major and minor factions that are at war with another major faction. So that was Britain, or Pac Brits, or KMT China, whatever the case may be. The Volunteer Fighting Tigers was an air fleet that was volunteered from America and sent over to China to help with the war against Japan. It hits at a 7, it defends at a 7, it costs 5 to purchase it. It doesn't matter if America purchases it or KMT purchases it, but this particular round, America footed the bill. Our KMT now has a fighter sitting over here. And we'll catch that over here on this one. It got placed in Yunnan, coming up safely through the Burma Road. And so we're sitting right here. Yes, it's on top of the militia, but that's where it's at, and you can see it because if we move that, you can hardly see it, which kind of sucks. So that way we don't forget that it's there, or, you know, doesn't get destroyed by other influences. We have transports that we purchased at 7 IPPs. We had 4 crews on the cruiser to move it to the next stage, which put it in placement. And we have started an Iowa-class battleship. So NATO's got his Iowa-class battleship in response to the Yamato-class battleship from Japan. So we're looking at that one and this, the battleship from Japan going onto the board, coming out here very soon as well. Unfortunately, like I said, NATO's been rolling this time, and it's his time to get dice, so he rolled a 2 for the production increased value for America. That sucks. That ouch. Ouch for you guys, Allies players. KMT Wounded returned. That was sitting over here. Well, it's actually in Communist China. We just had it over here because it's a small block. They also purchased 2 infantry. And KMT decided that they were going to get a little froggy and jump across that pond. They went from Shaanxi to Peking. They also retreated. Even though Peking only had an armor, 1 armored car, a Kwangtung, and 3 infantry, Shaanxi kept losing and losing and losing more units. So the Peking ended up getting their wounded over here. They kept their Kwangtung army. The Shaanxi had some wounded that they sent back. Well, then that kind of sucks. And then we went after, KMT went after Nanking, and you can see no more Japanese troops there. Nanking only had 1 Japanese infantry. They brought in Shishang artillery, 4 infantry, and a cavalry. The hospital that Japan did have retreated into our block here. For Henan, and the 1 infantry that Japan did end up wounded in that particular battle. Japan goes down 2 and KMT goes up 2. Good for them. KMT, wounded from the last round, is now reinforcing Shaanxi with the 2 infantry, and the militia that they had is reinforcing Sichuan. So everything is kind of bundled here. You're going to see a lot of red. This is going to happen a lot in the next couple of rounds. The artillery they had in Hunan is now in Zhejiang, and the artillery from Yunnan moved over to Hunan. America's cruiser that they had for placement went to San Francisco. Hey, Axis players, Japan, look at this. Look at this. Yes, we've got all of this stuff happening around here, but this is coming on board, and it's coming on board fast. So keep that really, really, really thinking square. You know, we've got this block, which belongs to this. But that's a lot of firepower coming from America, right off that coast of California. Our transport is now over here in the DC block. So Germany, look at that. Do we want Normandy to happen again, or do we want to change the twists of fate? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Axis players and Allies players, veteran and new, we'll be seeing you here on the next round, July of 1941. Things are really starting to get real. We'll have more live rolls coming along as the fleets really start battling out. As we add in more things that are coming along, more of our acrylics, more of the units, all of this stuff is really starting to boil up high. I'm loving every second of it. If you like what we're doing, shoot us a comment below. We appreciate you watching. Like it, live it, love it. We'll see you on the next round. Bye, guys.